Wisdom. It's an incredibly valuable asset. Some would say more precious than gold. It's attractive, appealing, admirable. Conversely, a lack of wisdom is the basis of immaturity, blind spots, and bad decisions. Wisdom. It can be gained over time, but it can't be rushed. But wisdom can be shared. That's precisely what we are here to do right now. Today, we are here to hack wisdom, to distill it, to understand it, and to process it. Why? To get better at life. Welcome to The Main Thing. This is your new Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, and I've set out to interview the wisest people I know. We'll see what we can learn from each one when they're faced with an incredibly difficult, soul-piercing question. Welcome back to the Main Thing Podcast. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, coming to you today, as always, from Parkwood Studios in Almost Heaven, West Virginia. Every once in a while, you meet someone who has simply lived, not just accumulated birthdays, but accumulated perspective. The kind of perspective that can only be earned by walking through hardship, making difficult decisions, recovering from disappointment, staying curious, and paying attention to what life is trying to teach us along the way. Today's guest is one of those people. Rick Barron spent 42 years in the heart of Silicon Valley, contributing to some of the most influential and transformative technology companies of our time, including Apple, Hewlett-Packard, Sun Microsystems, Motorola, Symantec, and Intel. Early in his career, Rick even helped manufacture the original Apple Macintosh, which gave him a front row seat into one of the most iconic product launches in modern history. But as fascinating as those stories are, this conversation really isn't about computers. It's about what life teaches us. Rick Barron served our nation during the Vietnam War at the tender age of 19 years old. He'll share lessons from military service, stories from his early days in Silicon Valley, what a battle with melanoma taught him about life, why he's so passionate about mentoring younger professionals, and how podcasting has become an unexpectedly joyful and meaningful chapter in his retirement. More than anything, though, I think you're going to enjoy spending a little time with Rick Barron. He has that rare ability to tell stories that are both deeply personal and universally relatable. By the end of our conversation, I suspect you'll feel like you've just shared a cup of coffee with someone who's simply been a little further down the road and who genuinely wants to help the rest of us navigate it a little more wisely. Here's my wisdom conversation with Rick Barron. Enjoy. Rick Barron, welcome to the Main Thing Podcast. Thanks for making some time for us this morning.
Oh, Skip, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this very much. And I think in our past conversations led me to think that here's someone that I would really love to speak with again.
Who are these two guys? How are they connected? And so do you want to start that and I'll just jump in with some color commentary?
Sure. We came across one another. We're both part of the Riverside Facebook podcast community group. Mm-hmm. And over time, since I've been using their software, Riverside, we've been given the opportunity to seek people who may have an interest to be interviewed. So, I put up my pitch like others did, and you were kind enough to accept my offer, and we had a discussion, and we said, okay, let's do it. And I think it was back in March of 2026.
Yeah.
We sat down, and let me tell you, I've been getting a lot of hits on our conversation.
Thank you for having me on your show, and it's a pleasure to reciprocate here today. I'm not big in online communities, but my experience with you and the Riverside group is really good, really rich, really useful. I look at that when I see it come through my feed. I always look and click into the comments because there's knowledge sharing there that's invaluable.
All over, yeah. It's a great community. Where I live in Silicon Valley, in California, and I'm now retired, but over the 40 years I was in that industry, I was able to work for numerous great companies, Hewlett Packard, Sun Microsystems. Uh, but throughout all those years, other than Sun Microsystems, if I had to pick one that was really something that I could really relate to with fond memory, was when I worked at Apple Computer.
Yeah.
And that was back in, gosh, I think it was 1983. Yeah, I'm dating myself here.
Okay.
That I looked in the want ads, and there was this ad for a production manager, and that's all it said at Apple Computer. It was a very simple, so I answered the ad,
Okay.
submitted my resume. About a few weeks went by, and I got a call and said, "Hey, why don't you come in and we'll have a chat?" And the process went very smoothly. And
Wow.
gosh, I think about maybe a month later, they said, "We'd like to bring you on board." Now, I wasn't quite sure what it was I was going to be doing per se. They were still fairly young, but
Yeah.
they were getting such publicity with, the likes of Steve Jobs and all of the great things that they were wanting to create, because they really were so religious about making the computer so simple to use and not have it be something that one would be afraid of to even attempt to use at home, let alone
Yeah.
at work. So their simplification was something they took as a religion.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I got to Apple, I was told to go to this building down the street in Cupertino, and he said it's going to be behind a gas station. And I thought, okay. So
this sounds a little sketchy at this point.
It does. And I went there, and I found the gas station, but I didn't see anything that had the Apple logo, like, okay, this is the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was told to go to this door and knock on the door, identify who you are because they're expecting you. I said, okay. So I parked my car, and I thought, geez, this feels so clandestine.
It does.
And I knocked on the door and I identified who I was. Oh, yeah, Rick, we've been expecting you. Come on in. And that's where I met 5 other people. And it was in this very large, well, not a large building, but it was where they were building prototypes of the first Macintosh.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I had my first exposure to seeing this product that I had heard about, but didn't really get a grasp of what it was all about.
So still right in the prototyping phase.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I thought,
okay,
this is so surreal because here we are, people are walking up and down the street and have no idea what's going on in this building.
For sure.
Just being exposed to the prototypes of the chassis, the motherboard, everything that was being pulled together. And we were having extensive meetings late in the night to get this up and running because we had a very tight schedule to meet to then address the major launch, which was coming.
Rick, did it already have a name? Was it already known as Macintosh?
It was known as Macintosh.
Okay.
I mean, even the prototypes had the labels on them.
Okay, cool.
And one real neat tidbit is inside the bezel was the signature of every engineer that was behind the or the creation of the Macintosh.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was in the first launch of the Macintosh computers. So it was kind of chiseled in per se.
Yeah.
So everyone had that. But I think it was like 2 weeks later, that's when I went up to the factory in a place called Fremont.
Okay.
And that's where I was introduced to the other key supervisors who had responsibilities for various parts of the Macintosh manufacturing. That's when I got exposed to automation of robots doing various loading of chips into the boards.
Yeah.
It was a sight to see. We got to meet the manager of what we called the Mac factory. And that's when we had a session with all the supervisors and the people who were part of the manufacturing process on what our objective was.
Okay.
And we were told that we had to be ready with X number of Macintoshes to then have it be ready so that they would launch it come in January of 1984. And we were like 4 months away.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa, we're going to be working some long hours. We even work some weekends,
Yeah. And
but
Rick, as a marketing guy, that's
Mhm.
my profession. My career's been in marketing. January 1984 is a significant landmark date in the advertising world
Hmm.
because the commercial for that product debuted and was seen by the world at the Super Bowl halftime of that year.
Well, there's a story there. When we got to the point of where we had the volume that we needed to meet the launch, we were told we were going to have a special guest come out to the factory. And
Ooh.
we all met somewhat central of the manufacturing floor. And we were waiting and waiting. All of a sudden, someone said, "Oh my God, it's him." And I turned around and it was Steve Jobs.
Love
And
it.
he came out and he said, "I'd like to have you guys get in your cars and drive up to this breakfast place that's up the road. And we're going to treat you guys to breakfast." And the crew was fairly small at the time. So we got there, we were having our breakfast, and then Steve Jobs was doing his pitch about what the work we did, and how we're getting ready to launch it come January. And he said, typically he always said, "But there is one more thing."
Okay.
And and that's when he said, "We are going to debut a commercial to launch the Macintosh." And I said, "I'd like to show it to you guys."
No
And
way.
when they closed the screens, and he said, "Just so you know, you are the first Apple employees other than us in management to see this commercial." So he launched it, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was
Oh.
just unbelievable. When it was over, everyone stood up and just clapped. It wasn't like,
Mm.
"Okay, let's all stand up and clap." It was like, it just happened spontaneously. Everyone
Yeah.
was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to knock them off their socks." And he said, "Well, let's run it one more time." And
Okay.
it was the same thrill, same
Ah,
thrill.
yeah.
But after we had the launch, to a lot of fanfare, Steve Jobs had management present all of the people on the manufacturing facility be presented with a free Macintosh, along with the only two pieces of software at the time, Mac Write and Mac
Okay.
Paint. That was it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
it was quite a joy to
Wow.
work there.
Amazing. Amazing. Thanks for sharing that story.
No, you're welcome.
I just want to mention for folks that are listening, because you're Apple fans and you love technology, you love the Apple brand, you're part of that community. We had a guest on about a year ago at this time, Anita Stubenraw, who was a longtime Apple employee who wrote the Apple Credo, which is
Oh,
their shared values. Here's who we are and what we believe in. And she wrote that, and she reads it, in her own voice, of course, on that episode. And it is also goosebumps inducing type of message that Apple is known for.
well, that was the one thing about Apple. There was just something magical about that place. I mean, you walk into the factory floor, or you walk onto the campus buildings. I mean, there was just a buzz, absolute buzz.
Rick, you've worked for, and you mentioned some of them, many of the titans of technology in Silicon Valley and
Mhm.
throughout the region. Hewlett Packard. We mentioned the Skunk Works earlier. I know you had some
Yeah,
time at HP, Sun, Motorola, Symantec, so on the software side of the industry. But I wouldn't want to overlook, Rick, your military service, and I want to thank you for
thank you.
serving our nation in the Vietnam War. If you would speak to Americans today, how you would like us to remember and frame up the importance of the Vietnam conflict.
Sure. Yeah, I joined in when I was 19,
Mm.
and I was drafted in a different period of time because people were just protesting the war quite extensively.
Yeah.
And I felt that it made no sense for us to be there. And I know when, well, I'll tell you a little story here. Both my brother and I were drafted together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And my
Mm.
mother said, "Well, can't we fight it because they can't take both of you?" And we both said, "It's best that we go together and just get it behind us.
Mm.
Now, my brother went to Vietnam, but I worked in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And in the hospital, we were getting choppers coming in every day, bringing in the wounded.
Wow.
And I was just turning 20 when I got exposed to that. And just seeing that, Skip, it just made me realize how precious life is. It just, in the blink of an eye, you could lose everything. And seeing a lot of these individuals who were just, their spirits were just broken.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but again, it made me think that I know I don't like this war, but I felt that my country, or I'm sorry, our country,
Mm-hmm.
has its faults, like
Sure.
any country in the world, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I think that people need to understand that
Right on.
we're going to maybe someday do this again. War is not a pretty thing. It never has been. It never will be. But, I mean, I came across a friend of mine at the PX that we were in basic training together, and he was in, medical gear, his Army issued, blue kimono. And I noticed that he had a scar on his chin, and he had been hit by shrapnel.
Oh,
But he
gosh.
said, "Well, but I'm the lucky one because
Mm-hmm.
the way I got this was the guy who was taking point that day. He hit the landmine, and he was, gone in an instant. But
Mm.
the shrapnel hit me." But I think to answer your question about what I would tell kids today
Mm-hmm.
is, if you don't know what you want to do in your life as of yet, join the military. And I'll tell you why,
Yeah.
because it will prepare you for life more than you realize, how to survive, how to have a good discipline, a spirit of mind that will guide you going forward. Eventually, I did go back to college, and I finished up and got my degree, and that's when I eventually got into the high tech arena. But I would tell any person today that there's nothing wrong with serving your country.
We're both podcasters. I mentioned earlier briefly that I had been on your show. And so, speaking about your show, here's what it says on the website. Every Wednesday, join Rick as he unravels the intricate threads of life's most captivating stories. I love that. Yeah, I love stories. I've already said that probably twice in this short period of time. How'd you get into podcasting, and how long you been doing it?
Sure. I really got into it purely by accident, to be honest. I was watching the news, and sometimes there were news clips I would watch, and I would have my opinion and I'd be talking out loud about what I was watching. And it was my wife who turned to me and said, "Why don't you do a podcast on something like this?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, have you ever heard of podcasting?" "I've heard of it, but I don't really know that much about it."
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why. I said, well, I'm retired. I got time. So I did my research, and I started
Roll up the
joining.
sleeves. Let's learn
Oh,
this. Let's learn about it. Let's
a
give it
lot of things
yeah.
I learned cold turkey. But the part that intrigued me the most was the writing aspect of it all,
Mm-hmm.
crafting a story.
Yeah.
Um, and the other part was I learned the research that would be involved, which I just love to do, peeling the skin of the onion, like, oh, here's another facet of this story.
Yeah.
I just love doing that. But to answer your question, when I started was in April of 2022. I did my introduction.
Okay.
And then my first podcast, I mean, I'd written like 5 or 6 stories to get going,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted the first one to have some purpose and some meaning that spoke to my introduction about what I do every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to dedicate my first one to my wife. And that first one involved about why men are afraid to go see the doctor.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it was a story about when we I think it was our first year of marriage, and we were coming up towards Christmas. And my wife said, "I'd like you to promise me a small Christmas wish." And I
Okay.
said, "Okay." I said, "I want you to promise me that you will go see the doctor every year for an annual checkup."
Huh.
And I thought, okay, So I did. I mean, I was good about going to the dentist, but I wouldn't go to
Yeah.
a doctor,
I get it. Yeah.
And so I said, okay. And about maybe 8 years into seeing the doctor, he noticed a mark on my wrist.
Hmm.
And he said, "How long have you had that?" I said, "I don't know, I guess maybe about a year or two." He said, "Let's get that checked out." So he had me go across the street that day to see another doctor, and he took a sample. And so I'll call you probably tonight and tell you what I found.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. And so I told my wife as soon as I got home, and the phone rang, and I had chills. I thought, it's got to be the doctor. And he came straight to the point. He says, "You have melanoma." I
Ah.
said,
Ooh.
"Oh." I said, "I need you to come back to see two doctors tomorrow." So I drove up. My wife came with me, and I spoke to the first doctor, and she took copious notes about what the next steps were.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "So I'm going to have you meet the next doctor who's going to do the surgery." And I said, "Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean
Surgery?
surgery?" Yeah,
We're moving pretty fast here.
very
God.
fast.
Yeah.
And the doctor came in, he introduced himself, and he explained the nature of stages of melanoma. And he said, "We're going to have to, obviously, do some cuts here. I don't know how deep I'm going to have to go." And he said, "So I'm just prepping you. You could lose the feeling of your fingers,
Oh
your
my
entire
gosh.
hand." And then he dropped a bomb on me. He said, this is if this is goes beyond serious, yeah." He said, "You could lose your arm."
Oh my gosh.
And I fell to the floor and I started to cry.
Yeah.
And I said,
Of course you did.
I'm not hearing this." So they had the
Oh,
surgery. It went well, but the healing wasn't as uh, positive as a doctor would have liked it. So we had to go in for a second surgery.
okay. And Rick, I
And
want to
that,
ask, I'm just sitting
sure,
here wondering, was this your arm that you write with? Is your dominant arm or your other?
no, it was my left hand or left
Oh,
arm. I guess it goes back to what I was saying about the military. You don't know when life is going to throw a curveball at you.
yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, it's just going to be my moment. And after the second surgery, I was waking up because I thought to myself, okay, so what happens if in this time my arm is gone?
Yeah.
And I woke up, and my wife was at the foot of the bed. She was looking, and she was smiling. And she says, "Go ahead, take a look. I know you want to." I said, I could still see my arm." I said, "Okay,
Oh,
good. It's still
oh, oh,
there."
hallelujah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But it
Wow.
was a wake me up call. And I think that podcast, the very first one,
Yeah.
I did that early May of 2022.
Okay.
To this day, I am still getting hits on it.
Wow. Well,
And
that's a powerful story, and I
yeah.
love how you framed it. The title, "Why Men Are Afraid to Go to the Doctor." That's so relatable.
Mhm.
We all are. It's
Well,
true.
I
It's
had a couple
true.
of ladies who emailed me and thanked me because it's because of your podcast. My husband is now going to see the doctor.
Wow.
I thought, well, if I could do a small
Yep.
contribution, then thank you.
That makes it all worthwhile. Rick, I want to just compliment you, and this is sincere, and I've said it before on your show on the live mic, but your quality of production, your storytelling is A plus plus. It's
Thank you.
extraordinary. I feel like when I'm listening to one of your solo episodes, that I'm listening to a news package on NPR on National Public Radio. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it's that good.
Thank you.
Rick Barron, what's the main thing you've learned in your lifetime so far?
The main thing is that the person who has overcome hardships often uses those past experiences to make better decisions later on.
So, Rick, your main thing is that overcoming hardships involves using past experiences to help us make better decisions later on. Overcoming hardships is valuable. Don't overlook that. Don't devalue what you get from overcoming hardships.
That's a good analysis.
I've lived that. I think for most of my life, I would be in a hardship or see one coming and I would want to dodge it, get over it, around it quickly as possible. Only, and I would say, Rick, the last 5 years have I began to believe, to say, let's look for the blessing in here. Let's look for the value. But your main thing, overcoming hardships, uses past experiences to help us make better decisions later on, is something that I know and I believe deeply. So thank you for adding that to our wisdom library. I wonder if you might share with us, when did this crystallize for you?
Wow. There's been a number of them. Very quickly, I think what I learned when I was in the service,
Mm-hmm.
seeing what I saw. And as I said, I grew up very fast during that time period. But when I came home, uh, went to college, started working, there was a point in time where I just got tired of paying rent and I wanted to buy a house. And I really had to scrimp and save to get that home that I always wanted.
Sure.
And when I did, the real estate agent was wanting me to take a look at homes that's kind of beyond my pocket.
Good.
I said,
Good
yeah,
for
but eventually,
you.
I said, but eventually you'll get raises. I know, but I want to eat. you know,
Yeah.
so eventually, the house I'm in today was my very first house. So I've been here. It'll be 42 years this coming July 13th
That's awesome.
that I've lived here. Uh, but to kind of share an experience that I had when I first moved in, the house was a fixer-upper. I mean, there were so many things I needed to address, but I thought, yeah, but I have a home. I was writing my bills one evening, and I just got through feeding my dog and cat, and I had to pay the mortgage.
Sure.
And then when I paid the mortgage, I thought, okay, I still have a few more bills. And I thought, oh gosh, after I pay all this off, I only have $53 left in my checking account. And payday was 2 weeks away.
Sure.
2 weeks away.
Tight.
And well, tight and scary.
For sure.
I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And the first thing that hit me right away was like, I'm not going to go to my parents for help. Because I remember when I was working for my dad, how he taught me to live up to your responsibilities. He said, you'll probably face a lot of hardships along the way. But he said, that's where you're going to learn who you are.
Yeah.
And he said, if you run away from that, he said, you'll never grow up. You'll never make it. You'll make it, but you won't make it the way that you would like to.
Mm.
And my fear was of failure, that, gosh, here, I wanted to get this home and now I might lose it.
Yeah.
And then I realized, well, wait a minute, I still have some stock that I can sell. And I did do that. I got through it. And I learned, that's another lesson I learned, how to be prepared for the what if. So I made sure I was financially in a good position the next time if that ever happened again.
Yeah.
I kind of let my expenses over exceed my wisdom of how to maintain a balanced account.
Yeah.
But that was scary, but I learned so many facets of what happened that day, of how to be more responsible about your finances, how to stand up for yourself and say, I'm going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
I may have to feel a little pain, but by God, I'm going to get through it.
A listener out there, this has raised their ears up and they're going, what are these guys talking about? Overcoming hardships is very valuable, and it's going to help me grow and make better decisions later on. They're going, really? I
Mm-hmm.
don't see that yet. What might be some characteristics of their life absent this wisdom that
Mm-hmm.
they would be bumping into, that would be a signal that, hey, maybe I should be open to what Rick's main thing is here?
I guess I'll try to simplify this, and that would be, don't be afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because to a certain degree, failing is probably going to be the best lesson you're going to learn. Because if you don't fail and you think everything's going to be perfect, you're living in a dream world.
Truly,
You really are.
truly. Yeah.
It's you have to understand that there are hardships we will all face, and to think that I just can't walk out there thinking that if I don't do this right, I'm going to fail. No, don't even think that way. Look at it, just embrace it. Take life and embrace what's coming at you,
Yeah.
and learn along the way.
I just had a couple ideas talking about signals or pain points that someone might need to
Hmm.
uh, dig into your wisdom. If they seek the easy way out all the time, I'm always looking for the easy way out. Um,
Hmm.
if I'm constantly in debt and I'm not able to make ends meet ever, I'm always in that overdraft, overdrawing, running up credit card balances. I mean, this is not a financial podcast, but that could be a symptom of it.
Yeah.
Um, I think about someone that's always in a hurry, not willing to slow down and learn and observe and be thoughtful about things.
Hmm. No,
Um,
that's right.
yeah, yeah, and I think, um, and this is a big part of American culture, and I think we all see people around us. I've been there with materialism. I need more, more stuff, more things.
Oh,
Always, uh, I'm not happy unless I've got an order on its way, the package coming inbound of something that I bought. I'm always on the hunt for stuff. That could be a signal of that you're not willing to endure hardship for growth.
well, I think that's a good part of it. I think you know, some people today see that, hey, I want to enjoy life. Sure, who doesn't? But there comes a point where this is today. What are you going to do tomorrow if that enjoyment is not going to work out?
Yeah,
How do you get out of this?
right.
Well, because you didn't want to learn back here, now you got to pay the consequences here. So you're
Mm-hmm.
not learning. So
Yeah, yeah.
stop, smell the coffee, and don't be afraid to fail. That's all I can really tell someone is
Mm-hmm.
learn from it. I'm not saying make a habit of failing, but learn from those experiences because it's going to make you a stronger person. It really
Yes.
will in the end.
Rick, I always like to kind of wrap up on the main thing as we're exploring this and we're digging into the nuance of your main thing is application. How can a listener take this and apply it to their life? Uh, you've already given us a great one. Don't be afraid to fail.
But I think if there was one thing I would also add uh, to what we're discussing is I would encourage people to travel,
Yeah.
go to various countries, and if you can spend a few days here, a few days there, but really get to know the culture
Yeah.
because you'll see that as you talk to some of these people, which I have, you understand their outlook on life from their side of the world versus what we're seeing on our side of the world.
Yeah.
But in the end, brother, this is it. This is the only world we have. I don't know if we have Earth 2 out there somewhere, but let me know when you find it.
We're both big on mentoring.
Mhm.
We've been blessed to be mentored by some great leaders. We've talked about some of them. I've talked about many of them on my podcast, but we also enjoy mentoring younger professionals. And I wondered if you would talk a little bit about that, what mentoring means to you, why it's so important to you, and also maybe how that kind of fills your bucket.
Well, for me, I love passing on my experiences to others who are just, kind of getting started in life. As I expressed, yeah, I've been down the block, so I've learned a few things here and there. But I go back to a person that I got to meet who worked for my wife. She was an intern. And one day I was waiting for my wife. She was in a meeting. So she said, well, give me another half an hour. So I went down to the intern's office and we started talking. and her name is Amy Wong, and she's a very young girl, just getting out of Cal Berkeley,
Mm.
and we just got to talking, and I don't know how we got on the topic. I asked her, "So, what is it that you would really love to do down the road?" And she stopped for a moment, and she said, "You know what? I would really like to be uh, a motivating speaker, help
Huh.
companies to get their employees up and running when they're in a funk, if you will, to
Yeah.
just share thoughts of life and how you pull all that together to move on." And I told her about, well, we have courses here at this company where you can learn to be, speakers, and we even have um, speakers like what you want to be who come to the campus. I said, I didn't know that. I said, oh yeah. I said, oh, let me get you the curriculum, and because you can participate even though you're an intern, you can go in and get some insight. So she started doing that,
Wow.
and but long story short, she's very successful now. She's written a book. She's done a TED talk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I took a course at Stanford where she was teaching people who wanted to take a course in some of the sessions that she teaches. And when everyone arrived, and I didn't know this was coming. I mean, this is honest to God, a true story. Everyone sat down, and before we started, Amy got to the middle of the room, introduced herself, and she talked about the book. But she said, there's one person I've always wanted to thank for where I am today. And she told that story about what I just explained to you
Mm.
and how she started the progression. And she said, and the person who helped me get to where I am today, because it helped motivate me to do this,
Yeah.
is right over here.
Oh.
And everybody just started clapping. And I thought, whoa, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Because,
Wow.
yeah, but that was so, very precious of her to do that for me. And then when I saw her at the TEDx talk with my wife, watching her speak, I thought, God, such a natural. She was meant to do this.
Yeah.
She was meant
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah. I have this, as you were telling the story, I have this image of, when you met her early on, that you just, there was a path that she wanted to be on, and you led her down a trail, and you're like, okay, here's that path. Here it is, Amy. You can start right here. You gave her
Hmm.
the path, the on ramp into that path that she pursued.
Yeah. Well, it's
In
just
a
like
little,
to say, I've been down the block. I told her, go down this block.
There was an article shared on a Friday across our work team of about 20 marketing professionals, and someone had found this valuable article, and it was, and it, the email of our team just kept pinging back. People were saying, "This is great. Make sure you read this. I didn't know this part," and it just got a lot of, it was valuable, and it got a lot of buzz going. And I'm like, I wonder who the author is here. And I looked, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Amy Wong. This is Rick's friend. It was either Forbes or Business Insider or Business Week, one of those publications, and
Yeah.
she was writing on a topic that was very timely. And so I clicked on about the author, and I watched all or most of one of her TED Talks. And so
Hmm.
I appreciated her even more. I just want to wrap up here before we say goodbye to give you open mic time to speak to anything that you want to emphasize, or any points that you want to leave our audience with. Our audience is about 1,000 people who are wisdom
Hmm.
seekers. They're very focused on personal growth and development. What would you leave them with, Rick, in the way of a parting thought today?
Sure. I gave this a lot of thought. I think what I'm going to express is to the point, and it's something I came across quite a few years ago, and I'll just read this out. Forget regret, or life is yours to miss. No other road, no other way, no day but today. Now, let me give you a translation
Hmm.
for that. I think it expresses a philosophy of living fully in the present rather than being trapped by past mistakes. As I said, regret, afraid to fail, or future worries.
Yeah.
And I think the only time we truly have is right now, right now. So we should love, create, connect and live realistically in the present moment, because that present moment is what's going to help you get you tomorrow. That's how I look at it.
I love that. Rick, will you send that to me?
Sure.
Rick, I will say with gratitude, so long for now, and thank you so much.
Oh, and thank you very much. And so long to you, Skip. It's been enjoyable.
Hey, it's Skip here, and I wanted to just share a few final reflections about my wisdom conversation with Rick Barron. Rick reminded us today that hardships aren't just obstacles to survive. They're opportunities to learn. Whether he was talking about serving in Vietnam at 19, scraping together enough money to keep his first home, battling melanoma, or learning the craft of podcasting, the pattern was the same. Every challenge became a classroom. I also loved Rick's reminder that failure isn't something to fear. In fact, some of our most valuable lessons come when things don't go according to plan. If we're willing to pay attention, yesterday has a remarkable way of preparing us for tomorrow. As you've been listening today, I wonder what hardship has been coming to mind for you. What did it teach you? Maybe that's a conversation worth having with yourself, or maybe with someone you trust. One thing I noticed about so many of our recent highly accomplished guests is this: it's almost impossible to overlook their genuine humility. Rick was no exception. He has accomplished so much in his life, but he wears those accomplishments lightly. Instead of talking about his success, he talked about learning. Instead of trying to impress us, Rick simply shared what his life has taught him, and he encouraged us to keep learning too. So here's my encouragement for all of us this week. The next time you find yourself facing a hardship, instead of asking, how do I get out of this? Or how do I go around this? How do I hurry through it? Try asking instead, what is this trying to teach me? That one question just might change the way you experience whatever comes next. And if it helps all of us become just a little bit better at this thing called life, I'd say that's wisdom worth carrying with us. See you next time. That goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. Thank you for listening to this wisdom conversation. Let's give a big hearty thank you to the crew of the Main Thing podcast. These are the folks who truly keep the wisdom pipeline flowing. Audio engineer Bob Hotchkiss, strategy advisor Andy Malinowski, public relations and partnerships guru Rachel Bell, social media and digital marketing expert Chloe Linneberg, graphic designer Emma Malinowski, and of course our patrons, those generous folks who provide monthly funding support to help underwrite our costs of production. I couldn't do it without you, nor would I want to. Your feedback matters a lot. If you have a question, a suggestion, maybe an idea, or even a nomination of a future show guest, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at info@themainthingpodcast.com. Well, that's a wrap for this show. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, signing off for now and inviting you to join us again next time for another special delivery of wisdom.